Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Legion Does Reviews, episode number 3. Now, this evening what we're going to be doing is we're going to be reacting to the Game of Thrones series finale, and the whole entire series, to be quite frank. That's why I got the intros going, stuff like that, like going just for that fun nostalgia purpose. I just recently finished Game of Thrones. I watched the final season number 8 before, so I don't have cable. I don't like cable. I feel it's like a waste of time. I have streaming services. The thing is, though, is that I don't have HBO Max, and that was the only way that you could actually watch Game of Thrones. So what I had to do is I waited for previously I had all season 1 through 7 on the DVDs, and I had to wait for season 8 to come out. I got season 8. I know I'm slightly behind the curve, but I decided to rewatch season 1 through 7, then to proceed into season 8, and that's why I did that. Because I wanted to know everything. I wanted to be full ready for it, because I saw all the controversy and all the things that people were upset about. Rewatching the show again from the very first season to the end gave me some new perspectives. Now, some of them panned out, some of them didn't. When I first watched it the first time around, I never thought Daenerys Targaryen would die. I never thought she would. I thought it would have been her and Jon sitting on the Iron Throne together. Well, maybe a pair of Iron Thrones, whatever, to break that wheel, to be something different. I thought it'd be her and Jon Snow, which obviously we know the secret now. So I kind of thought that's how it would roll out, because for her, I mean, it would be a perfect analogy to say his ice balances out her fire, and they both had good hearts. However, rewatching things, I noticed something very different the second time around. I started noticing that Dany had a little bit of a different side that was peeking through, and I started to kind of see her descent into madness, almost, to where she started becoming almost paranoid. She had lost everybody who ever loved her, and that's losing the people you love is a very powerful tool to make somebody do things they wouldn't normally do. And I think the final straw, the straw that broke the camel's back was when Jorah died, because even though he was in love with her, she didn't love him the same way. She still loved him. And if you watch that scene, and I watched it several times, because I was a big fan of his character, and I was kind of a big fan of the fact that I was kind of hoping that she would reciprocate, not necessarily reciprocate, but maybe express the fact that she loved him in some way to him while he was alive. And she showed a lot of unspoken and even some spoken moments where you can tell that she loved him, but it was never flat out. And I think after his death, and he was on the pyre, and she was about ready to light it, it looked to me, and I watched it several times, she's like going, it looked like she said, "I love you so much." And it looked like she actually had finally said what she couldn't say. And I think that was it. I think that was the breaking moment right there. I don't think she could handle any more. I think she was walking on eggshells after that. And then, of course, once Jon Snow had an issue and he couldn't necessarily promise to love her, and then of course when Missandei died, She was, of course, beheaded on the wall. And you know what? I actually want to say I want to say I really appreciate the fact that they didn't make that like too over the top gory. Like on the fact that she was beheaded and it was kind of like a background shot to where you saw her body fall to the dirt. I was okay with that. And they didn't even actually show her body per se out of respect. And I was okay with that. I think they probably could have shown. Game of Thrones had some really, really horrific deaths just for the. As former U.S. Army military police, I've seen my fair share of dead bodies. Like I've seen my fair share of unpleasant things, and I don't think they needed to be over the top. Now, if that's just my opinion, it's not necessarily 100% popular. So I think they could have. It could have maybe rolled out different directions. With that being said, I kind of saw Dany's fall into madness. She desperately she was as somebody who was never really 100% loved. She never really had a solid background. Obviously her brother was just, he was power thirsty. He was not a supportive loving family member. I think she was lost for a lot of her life, and she started finding she started finding herself when she started, she became Khaleesi. She started gaining followers, people who loved her for a certain reason. She as she freed the slaves, she gained more. And I think there was a hole inside of her she was trying to fill, and when those things started getting ripped away, I think she just crumbled, and she descended into madness, like on. And it kind of makes her a tragic character, to be honest. Like on, she was one of my favorites. Like literally her. Yeah, she was definitely one of my favorites. Like on, if not my favorite. Like on, Jon Snow was definitely up there. Jorah was definitely up there. Ned Stark was definitely up there. If you know anything about the books, he was actually the hero in the books. Like on, they didn't want to do that for the show. They wanted to go a different route, so they did. That's why he was killed in the first season. And it's also the reason that I thought, since Jon was a product of Stark and Targaryen, I thought it would only make sense to, since Ned Stark was actually not going to be the savior of the whole entire series, it would only make sense to have one of his somebody with his name, his lineage. I mean, because he's not technically a Stark. We know that. I'm sorry, I take that back. He's not technically a Stark, but he was raised a Stark. So in theory, he was raised a Stark, and he was. I kind of thought we would have Jon and Daenerys rolling together. And then when I saw Daenerys' descent, I kind of realized, I was like, going, okay. I said, we're gonna have Jon sitting on the throne. He doesn't want it. He doesn't need it. He kind of despises it. But he makes a lot of sense to do it. And when he killed Dany, I saw that coming. I kind of saw that coming. Because everybody was so shocked. So I kind of put two and two together. Everybody was so shocked. I kind of saw her descent. The second time around, I saw her descent into madness. And I was like going, okay, I have a feeling that it's not going to turn out the way. So I kind of saw, well, Jon and Sansa were really close. And I thought, well, I mean, things are done for political motivation. So I thought, well, what would make more sense than having a sorry, gosh darn it. Sorry, I had something paused on the TV and it just started playing. What would make more sense Then basically having, well, no, Jon is a Stark, but yeah, I'm sorry, man. See, this is the thing. Like on this show, I watched all of the show like on in like a lump sum, like going over the course of a few months, and like, oh, okay, so Jon is a Stark, Ned's sister, and she's a Targaryen, and well, and he's a Targaryen at the same time. Like, going, so I kind of thought, we might have, due to the initial thought of Sansa being, she was supposed to be queen to Joffrey, and that obviously that fell through. She didn't get it. I thought maybe they might politically put that together in the end, and it kind of would make sense to have Jon and Sansa sit on the throne, and then because it would have Starks ending the series together. And it would make sense, as homage to the original storyline, the original storyline of the books, of having Ned Stark be the hero of the whole franchise. Then they threw a curveball, and they put Brandon on the throne, which I didn't have a problem with. I was okay with that. Part of me was kind of shocked that Theon died, but that made sense, because to kind of make up for everything he did, and Theon died a hero, and I kind of like that. I think it could have been a little better. I feel like they made the Night King a little OP, a little overpowered. I was kind of hoping that Theon would get at least 1 or 2 shots in, like maybe cut the Night King once or twice, and then of course he'd kill him. Just to be like, I feel like the fact that he was really like bloop, chop the spear in half, and you're dead. Like, it really kind of cheapened the character. I didn't like that. It was a little cheap. The battle at Winterfell was kind of dark, and that kind of bothered me at first, and then I kind of got it. I was like, going, hold up. What they're trying to do is they're trying to make it almost like a horror style movie, it's like this dark undertone that you can't see what's going on. It's like, so that I kind of got that. It kind of made sense. So that was one that I was like, all right, I kind of get that. The first 3 episodes were solid. I mean, that was phenomenal Game of Thrones. I loved watching all the cast and characters come back together right before the Battle of Winterfell. I loved watching that because you got to see everybody seeing each other again, and it's been so long, and all the reminiscing, right before they had to fight the army of the dead. I thought that was really quite phenomenal. So, I think everything up to that was really, really solid. Where I started having some issues with the final season is the 4th episode, and it was the end of the 4th episode. The end of the 4th episode? Yeah, it was the end of the 4th episode. They killed a dragon like that. It doesn't. Thank you. They literally killed Daenerys' dragon like that, just, and then the Iron Fleet was toast. Like, going, I was just like, really? I felt that was such a cop out, and I felt like that was so cheap. Oh, I don't know. That really irked the snot out of me. It really irked the snot out of me. Just to have a dragon be shot out of the sky like it was nothing. It really kind of cheapened it. I don't know. It really kind of cheapened it. I don't like shock and awe factor. Like, going, I think it's trash, and I think it's cheap. Like, they're like, well, we did this just because we wanted to shock everybody. It's like, but did you think about the ramifications behind it? Like, did you weigh the consequences? And I feel like there are a lot of moments in Game of Thrones that they did this just to shock people and leave them jaw dropped. And it's like, that's not good storytelling. That's just you know, I don't know. It's just, I feel like that's what they tried to do in the last, Ryan Johnson tried to do in The Last Jedi, and The Last Jedi is not a good movie. It's not a good movie by any means. And it's just like, it's like going, oh, I did that just to do it. It's like going, okay, why? Like, did you have a point behind it, or you're just like, you know, the F with it. Like, oh, I'm just going to do it. It's my show and I'm going to do it. And it's like, oh, okay. Well, it's like, you realize that there are consumers out there like, oh, we have to watch it, right? Like, oh, you should want us to watch it. And there were numerous moments over the seasons that were shock and awe, and it was just like going, that could have been handled differently, and they didn't do it. So I know like this shock and awe thing is like new in television, like it's kind of like they think it's a new way of storytelling in today's world. They're like going, I don't know. It sucks. It's stupid. I don't think a lot of people like it. So killing Missandei, I was pretty shocked about too. I didn't like that, but I understood it because it had to happen to further Dany's fall into madness. She lost 2 of her dragons. She lost Missandei. She lost Jorah. Like, on, it was just, it all made sense. As a character arc, I get it. I really get it. You know, putting Sansa as the Queen of Winterfell. I'm kind of middle of the road. I think it was a bad idea in one sense because it's like going, it didn't show unity. But at the same time, though, on the other hand, I understand because the Starks had probably been through more than anybody. I mean, literally anybody. It didn't have that sense of unity at the end, and I was kind of like iffy about that. But like I said, I understood it from both sides. Sending Jon back to the Wall, I did not like. I didn't like it in any way, shape, or form because I felt like it didn't. I felt like the character didn't grow. Like he was at the Wall once. Like he didn't deserve that. After everything he had done, he did not deserve that. Like Daenerys, I didn't like the fact that she destroyed all of King's Landing. I didn't like that. I think that was that's another thing. I could see it from both sides. I didn't like that because I really liked her character, and I felt like that wasn't her. But at the same time, I understood because she had lost everything, so it would make sense for the character. I just felt like they shouldn't have walked that road. I feel like they should have walked a happier road at the end, and they didn't. I feel like they did it just to shock people. It's that shock and awe garbage. I don't like it. They're like, oh well, everybody thinks that Daenerys and Jon are gonna be the end all to be all. Like everything's gonna be hunky dory. And they're like, yeah, we got something for you. And it's like, really. I still really like the show. I really, really like the show. I think it's a really solid, good show. It has a lot of really phenomenal moments. But if I had to give the show a rating, I'd give it an 85% because there's about 15% that is probably a failure in my opinion. And most of that failure is those shock and awe moments. It's just like going, well, we killed this character just because we're trying to throw everybody the hell off. It's like, okay. They even said in an interview, if I remember correctly, after in season 2, maybe season 3, they're like, oh yeah, no character in this show is safe. Anybody could die at any moment. And it's like, why? Are you telling a story, or are you just going, screw that character, dead? I don't know. It just, Season 8 left a lot to be desired at the end. I just felt like it did not end anywhere near as well as it should have. Not even close to as well as it should have. I understand the whole breaking the wheel thing. I don't know. I just, you know, Jon could have been king, and Daenerys could have been queen, and she still would have been queen. Like going, Jon not wanting to rule, like going, she could have been in charge. Like going, she could have been just as powerful as he was. You know, maybe even a little more powerful. Like going. And it's, you know, especially too because Hollywood likes to do that whole thing. It's like going, oh well, like the social justice issues, let's pander, like going instead. So Jon could have been like, you know, kind of like a little more silent king, and maybe Jon was like 45% silent, or maybe 48% silent, and Daenerys as queen would have been like, you know, had 50, you know, well, Jon had 48% input and Daenerys had 52% input. Like, she makes a lot of the decisions, but if she gets a little overzealous, like, Jon kind of reins her in because, you know, Jon is more humble. Even with Daenerys descending into her unfortunate madness, maybe even Jon and Sansa, like going, would have been a good duo. Would have been like, it's like, all right, if you don't really want to do the whole Mother of Dragons, the whole, you know, another Targaryen on the throne, maybe put Sansa and Jon on the throne, like going for a political marriage, like going, that would have worked out really well. You know, Jon and Sansa had phenomenal chemistry, as you know, in working together. She challenged him. You know, he would challenge her. I just felt like it didn't go any direction that it should have. That's like, I feel like there's multiple options that would have made sense, like going, and if you rewatch it, like going, I think a lot of people will feel the same way I do. Jon shouldn't have ended up at the wall. It cheapened the character. It's like he didn't learn anything. He didn't grow as a character. It's like going, he was literally at the same place he left as when he, you know, he ended up in the same place he left at the end of season, you know, at the end of the season 1. It's just like, oh, okay. So I felt like there could have been a better character progression. I like the fact that Tyrion ended up as Hand of the King. It made a lot of sense. Phenomenal character. I don't like the fact that Jaime Lannister died. Jaime left Brienne because he wanted to go save his sister. Like going, knowing the monster she was, knowing the cold, calculated, and the fact that she didn't care about him or care about any of them. You know, because she even showed him very much ill will, very cold shoulder. Like, so I don't like the fact that he ran back to her. I don't like the fact that he ran back to her to like die with her. That in my opinion, it showed no character progression on his part. We like went through this whole entire long journey of character progression. He became a good man, and then he said by the end, well, I'm not. Like on, it's like, that makes no sense. It makes no sense. It made no sense. Ugh. So much stuff that made no sense. It could have been a lot better. It could have been a lot better show. The ending. So I understand it. My friend Robert, I'll tag you in this video because you wanted to know my leanings about the whole entire thing. I understand the frustration and the people being upset about the ending. Several of my friends, by the way, like on Lloyd, Andy, I'll tag all you guys in this one too, because like on, you've all said like on, it's nothing but downhill from, you know, after about, you know, it's nothing but downhill at season 8, or, you know, after season, I'm sorry, the third episode, like on, it's just, there's a lot of stuff that didn't make sense. There's a lot of things that happened that probably shouldn't have, and there's a lot of things that showed zero character progression. And that's one thing that a lot of Star Wars fans are upset about in The Last Jedi. Like, on it's like you took these new characters, you took the old characters, and you just dumped on all of them. It's like y'all didn't learn your lesson, like, on, so y'all gonna be on this like stupid rut. I don't know. I just, for a show that was like so creative, and a show that had such a creative background to it, it had such a captivated audience, I felt like you didn't utilize it. You didn't at all. So yeah. That's kind of my thoughts on that. Like, on, I love the show. I do. I feel like it could have really ended a lot better. Could have ended a lot better. Like How I Met Your Mother. Like, on, people criticized the 9th season, but I got it. I saw it from the beginning. I was like, no. There's one direction they're going with this. It had always been Robin since the beginning, but he sacrificed and couldn't have Robin, like, on it, even though he loved Tracy so much and she was such a phenomenal person and changed his life. Like, on, there was always a part of him that still loved Robin. Like, on, so after she died, which I kind of saw coming, because I was like, dude, like, they're telling this almost in the past tense, and I'm like, it's weird. I'm like, where's the mother at? Like, on, where's she at? And then you come to find out she died, and I'm like, oh, that makes a lot of sense, because it's told from a past tense perspective. It's told from a, oh, I almost wish things were different perspective. And now I do think that the with How I Met Your Mother, the last episode probably should have been drug out to 3 episodes instead of 2. It should have been 3 episodes instead of 2, to a little more building of character progression. But I always knew that he was going to end up with Robin. I did. I always knew he was going to end up with Robin. That was the direction they had been gone from the whole entire series. You can't. So, anyway, I've talked long enough, guys. Like, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you guys come back for all my other reviews. Like, y'all have a safe night. And I appreciate everything you do. Y'all be safe, all right? See ya.